Breaking right now, an extraordinary courtroom verdict. Prince Harry has lost his £50 million case against the Daily Mail. But today, as he arrives for a speech at Chatham House, the moment this devastating verdict is announced, I can tell you, he has also lost his reputation. This man lied in court. He committed perjury. And he can sue me if he wants. King Charles must now strip his titles. This case, this verdict was make or break for the Duke of Delusion, and it is over. It's worth pointing out he's also dragged 7 other claimants down with him, including Baroness Doreen Lawrence, a woman who the Daily Mail supported through the murder of his son, Stephen Lawrence. However, the judge, Justice Nicklin, has accepted the explanation of all the Daily Mail journalists in question. This was not a split decision, as many of us suspected. This was a slam dunk for the Daily Mail. It wasn't even close. So today we are going to get into this astonishing verdict, which has been delivered just this afternoon with a special royal superstar panel. Joining us, legendary royal commentator Hugo Vickers, the author of Queen Elizabeth II, A Personal History. The American journalist and broadcaster Paula Frolic of Paula Frolic Uncensored on YouTube and Substack. And the royal columnist for the Daily Telegraph and The Spectator, Lee Cohen of The Tea with Lee. But first, I just want to give you some of the executive summary from Justice Nicklin today, because it is astonishing stuff. In this written verdict delivered from the High Court, Justice Nicklin said Associated called journalist witnesses who gave lawful explanations for the sourcing of the disputed articles and incidents. The court accepted their evidence, including their denials of unlawful information gathering. The allegations were serious. They included allegations of dishonesty, unlawful conduct, and deliberately false evidence. The more serious and less likely an allegation is, the more convincing the evidence must be before a court can find it proved. And a special mention today for Charlotte Griffiths, the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday newspaper. A woman who has had to put up with a lot, actually, over the past few years, as Prince Harry claimed that he had never met her, that he didn't know her, in order to try and destroy her career. Of course, I believe one of the most devastating moments in this case was the final day when the Daily Mail produced the most astonishing personal Facebook messages exchanged between Griffiths and Prince Harry, in which it was very clear the two had had an intimate relationship that Charlotte had never previously publicly disclosed. Harry has to explain why he lied in court about his relationship with Charlotte Griffiths. And I repeat, Charlotte Griffiths has been vindicated today alongside all of the Daily Mail journalists, especially the head of the Royal Rota, Rebecca English. Personally, I thought she was on the ropes with her particular case, but Justice Nicklin says absolutely not. And also Katie Nicholl, a woman who has her own cancer battle going on, and Prince Harry still despicably dragged her into court. So all of this explains why Associated newspapers have punched back hard today, and I do not blame them for this for a single second. I want to take you through the Daily Mail statement. No doubt this was penned by Paul Dacre himself. Associated newspapers welcomes today's judgment, which is an overwhelming victory for the Daily Mail and its journalists and for a free press generally. Mr. Justice Nicklin today cleared the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday and dismissed every single one of the 97 allegations made by the claimants. In every case, the judge accepted the honesty of our journalists' evidence on how they sourced their stories. This is a magnificent vindication of the Daily Mail's journalism for some of the most outrageous allegations made when the case was launched in a blaze of publicity 4 years ago, placing bugs in people's cars and homes, listening to calls as they were made, and illicitly accessing bank accounts. No credible evidence was ever presented. As we said at the time, these allegations were lurid and preposterous and were a fishing expedition by the claimants and their legal teams in a politically motivated campaign to muzzle the free press. The reputations of our decent and hard-working journalists were terribly impugned, and today they have been exonerated. As the judgment clearly shows, every single article was legitimately sourced. Associated newspapers thanks Mr. Justice Nicklin for his patience and wisdom that he has displayed through the misguided legal action, which has wasted so much valuable court time and more than £50 million in legal costs. We will look to resolve outstanding issues, including the recovery of the costs we have incurred while defending ourselves against the egregious litigation. Now, Prince Harry should be bankrupt as a result of this, although the understanding is that he does have some type of insurance. But he is morally bankrupt. He relied on phone hackers. He relied on criminals. And he has been exposed for the man he is, a man who will lie about the royal family, about the British press, and a man who I do not believe has any place anymore in this country. His final words in court, which Dan Wootton Outspoken used AI to exclusively recreate, I believe were scripted, as he broke down in tears and attempted to win over the judge and the media by invoking his wife, Meghan Markle. Watch this.
I've never believed that my life is open season to be commercialized by these people. To act in the public interest is to interest the public. I fundamentally reject that. Having my life, like others, commercialized in this way since I was a teenager, delving into every aspect of my private life, listening to calls, blagging flights so they could see where I was going. It was a time when everyone was in competition with each other. To sit here and go through this again, and to hear them claim in their defense that I don't have any right to privacy, is disgusting. They have made my wife's life an absolute misery, my lord.
Well, it was never about her, it was about you, and you have been exposed. So no wonder, as Prince Harry arrived at Chatham House the moment that this verdict was handed down, there was no security, but also no crowds whatsoever.
That Range Rover and make his way into Chatham House. Like I say, this is the first of a sequence of events. He is also expected to hear that ruling regarding Associated Newspapers, that joint ruling, later this afternoon. And of course, we know that he is then travelling on to Birmingham to mark 1 year ahead of the Invictus Games taking place there. So that is Harry arriving at Chatham House a few moments ago for the Invictus Games Foundation conversation.
He went inside looking haunted and got up on stage. Remember, by the way, Harry had his script. He had his script in his pocket and was planning, if he had won on even one of the 14 counts, was planning to get up there and say, I'm the Dragon Slayer. Not only have I brought down the Daily Mail, I've just brought down the entire British mainstream media. Instead, he had to go ahead with this.
I hope you leave this conference with a deeper understanding of what the Invictus movement really is, and not simply a week of sport every 2 years, but a community united by one belief, that the unconquered human spirit exists in every nation, and that our shared responsibility is to create the conditions in which it can flourish. Thank you.
He is a broken man. To this very special superstar panel reacting to this major breaking news, Hugo Vickers, I mean, this wasn't even close. It was a slam dunk. Lots of people thought the judge might just give Harry sort of a win on one of the 14 just so he had something to walk away with. But he didn't get that. This is a total destruction of his case and I believe his reputation today.
Well, and you raise a lot of interesting points, I must say. And you mentioned his reputation. I mean, he hasn't done an awful lot to enhance his reputation in the last few years. You know, when you talk about some of the things to do with his wish for privacy, well, we think back to the memoir Spare, which I myself reviewed. I read the whole thing. I found a great number of faults of fact in it. So I think he was probably rather unwise to go to court against the Daily Mail unless he had, you know, an absolutely cut and dried case, and he quite clearly didn't. And so we must respect the verdict of the court. And I just wonder what will happen next.
Well, indeed, because Paula Frolic, remember, if it wasn't for this last-minute, very sensible intervention from King Charles, Prince Harry would right now be residing at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It is, I think we all know exactly why he's not there now, but also, you know, Dan, the point is, I think Harry knew he was going to lose. This is a last-ditch effort. So back in December 2025, there's a very interesting article on the Upsetter Substack right now, and it has an interview of a man who actually tried to intervene and get the Daily Mail to settle after all of the evidence was made public. It was around Christmas time, and Harry and team knew they were up a creek without a paddle. They saw all the notebooks. They saw everything that the Daily Mail had. They tried to settle, and the Daily Mail pretty much went, no, we shall not. Let's go to court. They wanted to put the nail in that coffin. And right now he's financially up a creek, reputationally up a creek. And I think Invictus is going to be the ultimate victim in this.
Which is obviously a sad thing, although a lot of people questioning actually whether Invictus should even go on anymore. We will come to that because, of course, that's officially the reason why he's in the United Kingdom. Lee Cohen, what can Harry say about this now? I mean, if he goes ahead and says, oh, no, you know, the judge got this wrong, he's going to look even more insane.
Well, Dan, it's hard to imagine him looking more insane considering the circus of the past few days, not to mention of the past 10 years. I think his reputation is irretrievably stained. And frankly, I feel compassion for the veterans who are his charity is representing, and all of the charities that are connected with him. What charity would possibly want to be associated with this man after he has, had so many blows to his character, to his reputation? It's amazing. I don't know if you recall, a couple of years ago, there was a hero who was killed on the battlefield that has a charity in his name, and his mother objected to Harry receiving an award in her son's name. And she remarked that his reputation is just too divisive and too controversial. And I think we're seeing that play out now.
Well, we absolutely are. Now, I want to talk about one of, I think, the most damning parts of the case for Prince Harry. It's also one of the most salacious. But remember, he is the man who decided to drag into court a former fling to try and destroy her. And remember, this is what he said in court about Charlotte Griffiths. This is from our AI exclusive recreation. While Harry and Meghan demand special treatment and attack the royals, the mainstream media still protects them. On Outspoken, I call it out with no bias. So subscribe right now for the full story every day.
I had no idea she was a journalist. I never used the name Mr. Mischief.
Did you meet her in Ibiza?
I don't think that can be right. I don't believe I have ever been to Ibiza other than with my now wife. My social circles were not leaky. I want to make that absolutely clear. I would have to cut contact with this person.
Now, Paula Frolic, the messages were produced as evidence. And remember, Charlotte Griffith, all credit to her, because I know I've been quite tough on her about certain aspects of the Harry story, but she had never released these messages publicly. It was only once Harry took her to court that she went public with them. Now, he said to her in the messages, this was in December 2011, hi, it's H, in case you were confused by the name in the picture. So he said, it's H. She replied saying, hello, Mr. Mischief. So that was a name that she had given to him, but it was included in the messages and the back and forth exchange. And the back and forth exchange, let's just be honest about it, makes it clear that there was an intimate relationship between the two of them. So surely Prince Harry was lying in court. Will there be a consequence to that?
I'm not sure if there's going to be a legal one in the UK. There will definitely be a social one, because right now I can legally say Prince Harry, comma, a known liar. Or if I was kind, Prince Harry, comma, a known serial memory variant, you know. And the other thing is, in the US, it is very hard to sue someone for libel. You have to have a reputation to defend. And one can argue right now that he does not have that anymore at all. So, you know, I think it's going to be much more social than it will be legal. I'm not sure there's an appetite for the court system.
No, because there never is. And that's the problem. I feel like he is just going to keep on. Look, the problem I've got with him is he keeps on trying to destroy other people's lives. I mean, Charlotte Griffiths and Katie Nicholl, they're people I've known personally, right? Years and years and years ago, we were both on the beat together. They are honest women. I mean, Katie has just gone through her own cancer battle. They both are mothers. And this idea that he wanted to destroy them is quite shocking to me. And I do sometimes think it is just worth actually looking at the messages themselves, because they do paint a particular picture of just how close and I think intimate the relationship was. So this is a particular exchange from January 2012. And Prince Harry says to her, hope you're really well, Griff. So he's calling her Griff. Miss our movie Snuggles. I'm off comms all week. In case you think I'm being rude, keep me posted. Kiss, 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 kiss. Now, Hugo Vickers, just looking at that, just that message alone, that is a close relationship at the very least. That's not someone who you will forget in a couple of years' time. And Hugo, I mean, you're an author, you're a journalist. If a royal was sending you messages like that, you'd remember it, wouldn't you? So I think Harry, unfortunately, has been totally proven wrong, because Charlotte Griffiths was able to bring the receipts.
Yes, it certainly would seem like that. And I don't want to defend Prince Harry in any way at all. I'm afraid I don't think he's terribly bright, and I think he's probably gone into all this and I don't know, maybe been to some extent encouraged by his legal team that he had a chance of winning.
Yeah.
And you know what, you get hooked into these situations, probably egged on to some extent by his wife, because my theory,
Yes.
which I've certainly on many occasions in the past, is that a lot of the things he says don't seem to come from his head. They seem to be put into his head by his wife. Meghan speak, you can often tell that when he's making public statements. I've actually gone so far, if I'm allowed to say it, to say that I think he ought to be wearing one of those orange hostage suits that you sometimes see.
It's sort of the same colour as Paula's jacket.
Well, yes. Well, yes. Well, I don't mean to be rude, Paula, but much smarter jacket anyway. They go right across the orange things. But you know what I mean.
No, I do.
And I would just say this, that I live in a sort of slight atmosphere of chaos, and one day I picked up a copy of Hello magazine that was lying on the floor, and there was a picture of Prince Harry smiling and grinning and looking really happy, and I thought, hang on a minute, what's all this about? Then I looked at the date, 2015, i.e. pre-Meghan. In my view, he's always looked incredibly unhappy ever since he got involved with her. And you know, I think they're always trying to reinvent themselves, and one thing goes on for another. So if it's a court case or it's her cutting up petals and scattering them on the salads and the things that she does, it's all very tiresome. And I was dreading this whole week of him coming to London anyway, because the moment he appears, it becomes a sort of contradiction with the British royal family, who are working for United Kingdom and Commonwealth, whereas he and his wife are working for themselves. And so it's always whatever he's doing, but takes on a great import. And one other point, if I may just make it, is,
Please.
you know, he has, supported Invictus Games, which is a brilliant concept, which is to show wounded people that they are not victims. What has he done to himself? He's turned himself into the biggest victim of all time.
So true, and you're completely right. Here are the real royals this week, conducting their duty, going about it without any sort of drama. Although I do say King Charles and the tank, I wonder if he was sending a little bit of a message with that to his youngest son. It's interesting, Hugo, because you talk about Harry. I think he's an empty shell of a man today, actually. I just want to show you one other part of his speech from Chatham House, where I think he looks quite haunted. Now, of course, at this point, it is worth pointing out he knew that he had lost. I've been involved in these types of cases. You're allowed to find out an hour beforehand. So he got the news wherever he's staying. It was meant to be Buckingham Palace. We don't know. He got the news, then had to get straight in his Range Rover with his private security and deliver the speech. But to me, he looked like a haunted man today. Look at this.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment to listen now to Prince Harry speaking in Chatham House.
Different governments, different militaries, different organisations, and of course different approaches to recovery. And that's exactly as it should be. No two countries are the same. No two healthcare systems are the same. And no two military cultures are the same either. And what brings us together is far more important than what sets us apart.
And it's like, I mean, what is he talking about? Seriously. This is not your job. It's not your country anymore. It's not your place to comment. And I find it completely bizarre that he pressed ahead with this speech, actually.
Well, he has certainly not befriended himself to the American people. He's made comments trashing our Constitution, trashing our free speech policies, and the fact that he and his wife have become absolute box office poison in Hollywood, the place where you would have imagined, if anywhere, they could have thrived, is just, it's head spinning. And what you really wonder, Dan, is, I mean, don't they sort of war game these things? Don't they plan them out? Don't they think through a sequence of, well, my court case is this day, and I'm coming, and I refused, or I didn't answer in a timely manner the invitation from Buckingham Palace, and then I accepted it. I mean, it is such a roller coaster ride of chaos that it's mind-boggling. And where are the advisors in all of this?
Well, the problem is, I think they're no longer listening to any advice. They're actually now just doing it themselves. And I've always said, actually, they've had advisors for a long time who they've chosen to ignore. And now we are getting to see what it's really like when Harry and Meghan run their own affairs, and it's total chaos. By the way, Piers Morgan has weighed in on the verdict. It's quite funny. He writes, with tongue firmly in cheek, devastated about Prince Harry's £50 million High Court defeat to the Daily Mail. I do hope it doesn't bankrupt him. But then he wrote, in a more serious manner, massive win for the Mail, massive defeat for the Ginger Whinger and the other celebrities involved who love to use the media when it suits them. How delicious that he's come back to the UK just in time to be humiliated. Expect the mother of all tantrums later. And Paula, I do think this is now bringing the curtain down. It's closing the chapter on the sort of Leveson era in the United Kingdom. Look, the media here used to behave abominably, right? But we're talking 2 decades ago, before I entered Fleet Street, actually, which was after there had been royal editors who went to jail. And trust me, at that point, the bad behaviour that Prince Harry is referring to stopped. But David Sherborne, the very slippery lawyer in this case, and I've had my own courtroom battles against him, Paula, and won, by the way, has been able to convince this cabal of celebrities, from Elton John to Prince Harry, that he is somehow going to win this time. This time we're going to be the winner. And you just have to listen to the actual criminals at organisations like Byline Times and Bylines Investigates, Paula, who are genuine criminals, like